this is in fact something that we had studied since last year. It is spread out of an invitation that we wanted to look into how SALT works as an institution to some extent, because maybe it's a bit different in my perspective. That SALT is a very recent institution with many goals or with a mission that it had. But the way the institutions are treated I think they always historicize themselves, and we talk a lot about what SALT wants to establish, but this was an opportunity for us to look at what was really happening in practice. And I'm really sorry for the quality of the images that I will give you handouts in the end if you're interested in this. But this was to see how, in fact, institutions are, maybe we could call it residue of negotiations of individuals that make these institutions. So this was a little method, a little tool that we used to look at how our programs link to each other, to one another. And the first thing we studied was exhibitions was a simple topic to select because there were a few of them. When you put into account all the talks and other programs, it becomes more crowded. But we wanted to make a map out of how these little programs work in and out of themselves. And the first map only shows, maybe you could spot Vas up there, and November there, and Meriç here. So these were programs that we did in connection to people, long-term programs, as we call them, the exhibitions. And this was to see, to show that when you are working inside the institution, you know certain programs relate to each other in traceable links. And this was an attempt to show those links. And here, it, for instance, is confronting to us that if you look at this map, I'm not ever connected to November or to Vasa, which is in fact the two people that I work closely with, and the closest with. But in terms of production, what I do is kind of, because I told you I work in the built environment, it looks segregated. So this is both, I would say, this shows interesting things, but at the same time, this shows the relations through programs that we build inside the institution. The ones you see without surnames are the people, many people in research and programs team. So we wanted to use this tool for other inquiries, and this is mapping maybe it's really directly related to the referential field here. This is mapping the times that that the programs studied, the periods programs studied in these past 3-4 years. And you could see, for instance, this is 1920s, which is a topic that we didn't really touch. But this is not coincidental because 1920s is very, let's say, largely studied in Turkey because this is where the Republic started, where the Ottoman ended. So we're trying to charter the territories, the gaps that we see left after and in between these other times. But it was still, when you put it on the map, it was revealing to us that this is what's going on. But the main idea was to, in fact, find a tool to talk about the qualities of the programs, because I mean, we all discuss, I think in the institutional world at least, we all discuss about the quality versus the quantity, but I don't mean in the sense high quality, low quality, but what are the strong points of the programs or what we would like to establish. And this first map, for instance, refers to projects' aims. Like, I mean, it doesn't make much sense when you try to create interactivity when it's not the goal. But certain programs that were held at SALT had these other, let's say, targets along with the content. But the more interesting part was this other map we did and the method we used. Here I find it, I mean, this is how we worked on it. These are the names of the programs, and these are the qualities that can be changed. The names could change, but the things that we wanted to discuss, like in this, for instance, interaction means, in fact, programs that perform upon initiation of the user. So, I mean, these all could be changed. But the point was that we sat down was a healthy practice, I would call it, with the research and programs team, and everybody afterwards coming to an understanding of these terms. They voted for each exhibition whether they thought this exhibition had this quality or not. So in the end, this is of course a subjective map, but but at the same time it's a collective map. And one of these, let's say, weird terminology that came out in this discussion was intuition. That we called it program that is devised without a specific final argument, which meant that it comes across your way, and then usually when it happens, at the time that it happens, things put together a different understanding, because this was the thing that we were trying to trace, this more three-dimensional thing, that when you are just an audience, salt is hard and complicated. When you're a user, you can find different links, and if these are, let's say, chronological links, these are very simple to find, but other links they stay with the institution, and the institution is not just this two-dimensional thing, that it's not the store. And being in Istanbul, I think, is very crucial in understanding this, because when I take a young colleague to Ankara, the capital, I was born in the capital, I know a little bit about it, it's so interesting to watch them in awe, to see that these institutions, they hear on the news are in fact buildings, and then people work in it. Because in Istanbul, this understanding is not there. It's very different to work in the capital of a country, I think, than to work in the cultural capital of a country. So this all started, to roll back, this is Odessa. This is half of a work by Hüseyin Bahri Aktekin, and it was in the inaugural exhibition that SALT had done in 2011. And this was part of Hüseyin Aktekin's, let's say, passion with the Black Sea. And his passion with the Black Sea took me personally, for instance, to another project that Katie was one of the speakers for, the Trespassing Modernities exhibition, because it was, for the first time, it was obvious, this is maybe a use of art, this Black Sea region, living across Marmara and growing up across the Aegean, Black Sea was really left out of the consciousness of, I would say, the Turkish psyche. So the Soviet communism, or the communism all around, that Turkey somehow left out of itself, in its, at least, architectural structure, became a topic for discussion. And then it now leads to another project that we're working on. It's the summer homes with their very peculiar and, I would say, yeah, atmosphere. But then I'm really trying to rush it. I'm sorry if it makes sense at all, we can talk about it later. Then I went back to two young curators who just did this. Gülsüm Kara Mustafa, an artist that is well known for her more critical works outside of Turkey, and is well known among collectors in Turkey with her commercial works. Who two young curators persuaded to put together her different types of production for SALT. So I went back and I asked them to draw a map of how everything that happened before Gülsüm Kara Mustafa was kind of making it towards this. And so, I mean, you can see Zdenka's talk was part of it, because they were discussing, as one of the topics was the Balkans and the ex-Soviet countries, and Zdenka was there, I don't know for what, but she did a who's in town in South. And Subriel was something that one of these young curators had invited, that it was, the exhibition had opened in Bucharest, so this wasn't an exhibition of SALT, but this was of an interest to SALT, which fed into the topic. Or when we discuss minorities in Turkey as one topic, Ahmet Öğüt's work, Across the Slope, that was again exhibited in SALT in 2011 in early times, was already suggesting certain critical points to start from. And Turkish modernism was another topic that was fed by, this time, a very different type of, let's say, information. One of the exhibitions they listed is on an archive of an architecture historian who's commissioned by the state to build a Turkish understanding of the Ottoman heritage in the 1930s and 40s. And you could also see the Sweet Confusion program by Georg and Ruben. It was just a hosting for SALT that fed into this program. And it's not simple to map these things out, but then in the end, like I was saying, this talk on intuition, we came into this work after we worked around using Paramusta, for example, institutional subliminal consciousness. So this is the word this is the term we would like to go from to show these not ever coincidental, but also not programmed inputs that make the institution's works coherent in a sense, but also maybe challenges it for its not being a programmatic approach. And this is something, I guess, when you discuss it in terms of historicization, this is something we try to avoid to discuss. Maybe, I mean, if thinking of the institution as one package, but when you take a look at it from the angle of individuals that bring these topics into the program, outside and inside, it becomes, I think, interesting as a terminology for transparency of how institutions work and in the sense. SALT was just a topic I would really love to work on this for any of the organizations or any of the other institutions. And this is a very simple tool that I used. It's a software that is done, it's called Graph Commons, to map these things out. And I think it's interesting. It would be interesting to look at your institutions as well if you